This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I'd like to call the Site Plan Review Committee to order for Tuesday, March 21. Roll call, please.
Dennis Persick.
Here.
Mary Podolsky.
Here.
Gary Paul.
Here.
Gary Rathburn.
Here.
Andy Krowski.
Here.
Dale Quinn.
Here.
And Pam Burns excused.
Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please remember our men and women throughout the world in uniform. I have no changes to the agenda. I need a motion to approve, please.
Motion. Move to approve as presented.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, action on the site plan review minutes for the regular meeting of March 7th, 2023.
I don't think I was here. Make a motion to approve. Motion to approve down here.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 I guess that was-
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 6, review plans for the following locations. A, action on a request by RSK of Wisconsin to construct a fuel island at their fleet maintenance location at 1011 Parkview Road, parcel VA-228-14-K-54. David.
Thank you, Mary.
Whoa.
David's the man of the hour
Whoa.
today.
New face in the crowd.
So as Mary said, this is for a fuel island over at 1011 Parkview in the industrial park. The property is used as a fleet maintenance facility for tractor trailer maintenance. And they are proposing a fuel storage tank as well as fuel pumps to be installed at this location to fill their trucks up before and after maintenance. So only one staff condition on that is that our village engineer went out to the property and he found that the current elevations of the property are going towards the road and also towards a catch basin on the south end. The purple highlighted area here is the proposed location of the fuel tank. And as such, with having these stormwater inlets on Parkview Road being downslope of them, the only condition that we have would be some sort of solution be found that if in the event of a fuel spill were to occur, that the fuel would not enter the storm system out into the road.
Okay.
Type of containment they won't like to have, right? Emergency containment?
What's that?
Emergency containment for the fuel in case of
Correct.
overflow?
Correct.
Move closer to your mic, Andy.
So in the case of, like a gas station, like a Quick Trip that has a catch basin in the parking lot, those are constructed so that if there was a spill, the oil and the gasoline would separate from the water before it leaves the catch basin and then therefore protect the waters of the state. So
All right, so that colored area is where the pumps are going to be.
correct.
All right, I'm having a hard time seeing today, so that's why I'm going to ask that question. So in other words, from there, they go right straight out to the road.
From the current slope of the land.
All right, 'cause I drove through there this morning and I was wondering if it was inside from the building to the curbing, but it's from the curbing to the lot line as it's going out of the drive then.
I believe so. Correct.
Because there's a curb cut on the west end of the building, there's a curb cut on the east end of the building.
Mhm.
So that island can only be get to on the west side of the island then. There's no two sides to that island.
So it wouldn't, I suppose, are you questioning if it could be on the east side of the island or the west side
I'm
of the
just
island?
asking, is it an island like Quick Trip has where you can get to the pumps from both sides or
So-
from a single side?
The overall would be
You know, we
this,
got nothing here in our information here other than what you're showing us.
I apologize for that, Gary. My PDF is not opening up right now. Should be on this one. Let me see if I can find a different way to open it here. I apologize, Gary.
I just have a general question.
Yes, sir.
Do they have to submit their plans to mitigate any kind of an oil spill or gas spill?
I am not familiar if there are any type of DNR requirements with that. I can certainly follow up with our engineer, Steve, to figure out what the next steps would be.
Well, I mean, it looks like we're kind of telling them when they need to do something to mitigate it. I'm just wondering, how do we know that that's incorporated into the plans?
So at some point, they would need to take out a building permit. And one of the stipulations that in the building permit we would have would be that it meets all applicable codes. So we would have follow-up conversations with them.
So he would be working with Steve for this, right?
Steve would be a good first point of contact.
Yeah.
Yes.
Deeper.
Yeah, village engineer is our stormwater expert.
Well,
Because
I
Steve,
don't quite understand because that's a downgrade going down to the road. I don't quite understand if there's a fuel spill, fuel's going down into the road to the curb.
And that's what we don't want.
And that's
That's
what we
what they
don't
have
want.
to fix. They have to figure out a plan to capture the oil and the gas before it gets to our storm sewer.
just like quick,
And that is the conditions in the staff report here.
Correct.
Correct. So the site plan that
All right,
was submitted,
All right, I'm seeing it now.
this would be, north would be the top of the screen here. And there'd be a 12,000 gallon fuel tank in that pink highlighted area. And nothing's working today. Awesome. So, and then there would also be a satellite fuel dispenser that would allow multiple trucks to be filled up at once. The satellite fuel dispenser would have an overhead beam that goes over the top of the trucks. It would be illuminated during low light hours to make sure that there wouldn't be any chance of collision with that if there was a truck that was taller than normal per se.
Now, is that where the fuel tanks are going to be stored?
Correct. There would be above ground.
They're above ground, concrete around them.
There would be a 6-foot tall industrial fence around them.
There is no retaining wall in case
As
the
well-
tanks leak?
As well as if the tank were to leak, there are no walls per se that would stop the gasoline or oil from going anywhere. And that's why we have the stipulation for some sort of a protection.
Well, I've seen this before, but they got concrete barriers all the way around the tanks. But you've got two issues here, tanks leaking and trucks overfilling, both going to the curb.
Correct. And that's why we have that stipulation and saying there needs to be some sort of protection to allow any type of a fuel spill from entering the curb.
From tanks and from fills.
Yes,
and I'm sure before the final say, Steve will check it
Yeah.
out and everything will be kosher.
correct.
But who is going to follow up on this? I've seen too many, they're going to do this, and who follows up on it to make sure it's done?
Well, like I said, when we receive a building permit for this project, we would need to be out there to inspect the electrical portions of any type of connections, as well as any type of footing and foundation requirements for it. So I will certainly keep it top of mind when we see that project to make sure that these conditions are met.
So you're going to be the man.
I am willing to be so. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot here.
No, that's all
You
right.
know,
Make sure
that I'm not trying to do, but I've seen this before. I ran across something else I'll bring up when Aaron gets back here that is not being done. You know, and you're dealing with fuel here, and it's not that I'm against them filling their vehicles there. I know they're all over the country filling their tanks when they could be doing it out of their own yard, but just the idea of fuel going into, we hear that all the time, fuel spills, whatever, and it's got to be captured before it gets into either water land or the land itself.
Correct.
That's right in the ordinance.
Yes,
For the-
I believe that Steve Burr referenced the specific ordinance in his
Yeah, it does.
comment sheet. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion?
I think the only other question I have, that's facing the street. Is there any way they can put shrubs in front of the containers that they're going to, whatever they're going to do to camouflage the fuel tanks themselves if they're above ground?
So as noted in the explanation, there will be a 6-foot tall industrial fence around the area. In that zoning district, they're actually permitted to have up to an 8-foot fence maximum. As far as landscaping screening, that is not, as far as I'm aware, anyone in our code that we can require to have shrubbery above and beyond a screening requirement in addition to a fence.
It'd be pretty hard with all the concrete hard surface there too, I believe, compared to all the other ones. I don't think there's any room for it. Plus,
Well, there's plenty of green space there.
well, not by the tanks, I don't think there's going to be.
Maybe the tank's got nothing to do with the shrubbery
Well, if you
or
want to
or the concrete walls. I mean, they can space them back a little ways. I don't know.
Okay. Obviously, since it's not in the ordinance, we can't require it. We can ask it of them to put some sort of shrubbery in front of the,
Well, be a good neighbor to the other property owners around there. I think it would be a liable question.
we'll have to ask that of them, but it is not a requirement, so. Does anybody have any other concerns, comments?
No.
Anybody want to make a motion?
So move to accept with staff conditions.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve with staff conditions. Do we want to add that we would just ask them to put some shrubbery in front of it to make it a little more palatable for the neighbors?
I would suggest we could ask. There's nothing wrong in asking.
Couldn't hurt.
Okay, and the second's okay with that? Okay, so here's the motion. We have a motion and a second to approve as presented with staff conditions. And we will ask them if they would be good neighbors and put some shrubbery in front of the concrete and the fencing. Okay, everybody understands the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay. Department reports. Do we have any reports?
Well, not much has changed in the status of many commercial projects in the past few weeks. Bellin Hospital is still making very good progress. The project is going very well and on time for them. They are taking bids at the current moment for floors 3, 4, and 5 of the project. The climbing gym has been over on Mike McCarthy Way and Element Building has been, sorry, excuse me, not the Element. The climbing gym has been very busy. From what we've heard, it's been a lot of talk around the town, a lot of people visiting there the past weeks of opening.
Well, that's good.
Element is still making very good progress. We're out there multiple times a week doing footing inspections and keeping an eye on that one as well. So should start seeing something come up out of the ground here in a couple of weeks.
Okay. The next meeting,
Is
that's right, you already moved it to Wednesday, April 5th.
Wednesday?
Yep, Wednesday, April 5th, because April 4th is the election. Okay, and I'm assuming we'll probably have items. We usually do.
Yes.
Okay. So, hearing no other issues, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.